A snapshot of the West Bank shows why Hamas is gaining support.
This is pro-Hamas graffiti.
Some Palestinians say their conflicts with Israelis are worse than ever.
Smashing the glass. They have never been as violent as this time. He told me, "You are all Hamas."
Some are sick and tired of waiting for peace.
All Palestinian factions have to come together and say enough is enough.
From well before the start of this war, the point has been made that Hamas is distinct from the Palestinian people. Margaret Evans, our senior international correspondent, breaks down the forces pushing them together, and not just in Gaza.
Ramallah in the occupied West Bank, and a mosque full to overflowing. At times of trouble, people turn to prayer, and these are troubled times. The sermon is an angry one, full of outrage over the plight of Palestinians in Gaza and calling for Israel's destruction. It pours easily into the streets, turning into a pro-Hamas rally, begging the question, is support for the militant group in charge of Gaza only growing? Your movement, Hamas, they're shouting. Your army, Al-Qassam. The people want the Qassam brigades. That's the Hamas military wing behind the brutal October 7th attacks that killed more than 1,400 Israelis. Hamza, 28, is one of the few demonstrators willing to speak to us on camera, but he's evasive about directly voicing support for Hamas. I was praying, and then I saw a demonstration, he says, and it's only natural that I joined it. Whatever was chanted at the demonstration is the message. As Israel continues a war it says is aimed at Hamas, few here accept that distinction, given the number of Palestinian civilians dying.
Bombing women and children, bombing hospitals, killing the Palestinian people, and the identity is not about chasing a specific party. It's about chasing the entire people of Palestine.
Sabri Saidam is a senior leader with Fatah, the secular party that runs the West Bank's Palestinian Authority and Hamas's long-term political rival. He's marching for an end to Israeli attacks in Gaza, not in support of Hamas, but he does say it's time for Palestinian unity.
All Palestinian factions have to come together and turn to the international community and say enough is enough. Had this conflict been resolved decades ago, we would not have seen the wars, successive wars that we have seen over the years that have passed.
The creation of the Palestinian Authority with civil control over some parts of the West Bank was an essential part of the 1990s Oslo Peace Accords, signed on to by the then Fatah leader Yasser Arafat. But the failure of that peace to materialize has left support for the PA and its Fatah leadership as singed as Arafat's mural, seen as weak in the face of an Israeli occupation now in its 56th year. Gaza's Hamas leaders clearly see space to try and extend their influence here. This is pro-Hamas graffiti. It's all along this street, which is in the center of Ramallah, which is, of course, headquarters for the Palestinian Authority. It wasn't here before October 7th. Support for Hamas, which doesn't recognize Israel's right to exist and is considered a terrorist organization by several Western governments, including Canada, isn't new in the West Bank. Israel regularly jails its supporters, and even before October 7th, the army had stepped up its raids on armed Palestinian factions in militant strongholds like Jenin. In the high hills north of Ramallah, sleepy-looking villages dot the landscape. Deir Hassana is centuries old and seemingly slow of pace. 2 weeks ago, Israeli soldiers raided the home of Fadia Barghouti in the middle of the night, arresting her son, Basil.
They have never been as violent. They haven't knocked or rang the bell. The only thing they started smashing the glass.
Barghouti's husband, Mahmoud, an accountant who works for the PA's Department of Religious Affairs, has been in administrative detention in an Israeli jail for 13 months now. Not the first time he's been held without charge for supporting Hamas. She believes her son was arrested for backing a Hamas-linked party in student elections last spring. She says an Israeli intelligence officer threatened them.
He put his nose on my nose, his eyes in my eyes, and he told me, "You are all Hamas. You will all pay the price of what happened on the 7th of October." You know, they destroyed everything.
Barghouti believes support for Hamas stems from the failure of the peace process and those naive enough to believe it could protect Palestinian rights.
This world respects strong people, and you can't raise your voice, and this world can't hear you until you're strong. You have something, power in your hand. When Palestinians were weak, they smashed us. I think resistance gave Palestinians a sense of dignity and a sense of power.
Navigating West Bank roads has never been easy for Palestinians. A patchwork grid of Israeli army checkpoints and access roads for Jewish settlers whose presence across the occupied territories continues to grow, despite condemnation from much of the international community. Violence towards Palestinians by ultra-nationalist settlers has surged in the wake of the Hamas attack, condemned by the White House. The Palestinian village of Kusra lies in the shadow of a settlement on one side and an outpost on the other, often manned by hard-line settlers. 19-year-old Rabia Odeh and her mother were home when Jewish settlers attacked their house on the edge of Kusra 4 days after the Hamas assault.
My brother tried to tell them we don't any problems, but they suddenly attack us without anything. We don't take any rocks or stones and throw about him.
Relatives and neighbors answered their calls for help. This video shows settlers opening fire. Odeh's brother Awad was injured. 4 other Palestinians were killed. Now Odeh's family is too frightened to spend nights here. When they come in the day to clean up, they have their defenses ready. Settler violence may have spiked recently, but it's also not new. Odeh's father was killed during a confrontation with settlers 7 years ago now. Israel's current government includes extremist politicians who favor annexing the West Bank. Combined with current events, it leaves little room on the horizon for Palestinian hopes of statehood, more frayed than ever before. Mudar Kassis heads Birzeit University's Human Rights Program. He says a more radical landscape may well emerge from it all, not necessarily what most Palestinians want.
But what is relevant eventually for the Palestinians is that what will make them free. Not Hamas, not the Palestinian Authority, not Fatah, not the third way, not the left, not the right. Whatever gives them the hope of freedom is what will get relevance for Palestinians.
So, Margaret, do you have a sense from the people you spoke to there who they think their next leaders might be?
Well, there's a real sense that there has to be a turning of the page. There have to be elections after 17 years without. But of course, it's going to depend on what happens with this conflict, whether we're going to see a rise in radicalism, whether diplomacy will still be alive, whether there's an avenue for diplomacy. And if there is, I think you're going to find the next generation, a lot of young Palestinians just not trusting it. There's a lot of talk about grassroots populism. We've seen some of that take root in East Jerusalem. And there's a lot of talk about a third way.
So one of the things I'm curious about is that so much of the world's focus has been on the conflict. Do people talk about the level of outside interest?
Yeah, very much so. And they make a differentiation between how governments are seeing what's happening and what they're saying about it, and what people are saying on the streets. They're very much aware of these large demonstrations taking place around the world calling for a ceasefire. They see it as a recognition of Palestinian aspirations that they say they haven't seen in a long time. I spoke to one man who, a longtime advocate of the two-state solution, saying that what was happening now was actually the first thing in a long time that's given him hope, because it is putting the Palestinian struggle for nationhood back on the agenda.
All right, Margaret Evans, as always, thank you. Coming up, 1 month after the Hamas attacks on Israel, the trauma is still fresh and fear still grips those who survived.
I don't want to scare anymore, not there and not in my house.
Ellen Morrow speaks with survivors still looking for answers. Next. These scorched shells are the scars of a massacre.
The Hamas just wanted to kill everyone they saw.
In a field in southern Israel, investigators combed through hundreds of these husks.
Are you getting anything from inside the car?
But for a man who lost a dear friend, they only stir visions of horror.
With his mom in the phone, hey mom, I love you, hey mom, it's done.
1 month after the murderous Hamas attack at a music festival, Ellen Morrow met with Israelis who went to retrieve belongings. What they may never again regain, they say, is sympathy for the other side.
The smell of death hangs in the air here. The burned out remnants of hundreds of cars destroyed in the Hamas attacks of October 7th. Some lit on fire, investigators say, with their passengers still inside. The brutality of that day 1 month ago. I saw all the vehicles scattered on the roads. I heard the shouting and the crying, Chaim Ortmazgin tells me. The cries are not forgotten. Ortmazgin is with Zaka, a volunteer organization charged with collecting the remains of the dead. They look for blood, tissue samples, helping the police and forensics teams to identify who these cars belonged to. There are people we still don't know where they are and if they are alive or not. Like so many here, Chaim is completely traumatized. I collected over 600 bodies in my own hands, he says. I saw severed heads, severed fingers. The silence here today symbolizes so much suffering. Many of the cars came from the attack on the Nova Music Festival. Hamas militants storming the festival grounds, killing hundreds of young people, abducting many others. The personal possessions left behind for a day out in the sun with friends are haunting.
My friend was with my car with 3 more people. One stayed there, he's not alive. So scared.
Itamar Dahari survived, but his friend Aliyah didn't. Aliyah was shot by Hamas while trying to escape, on the phone with his mother as he ran.
He's done with his mom in the phone, hey mom, I love you, hey mom, it's done. And all this fucking shit, you know.
This was the car Aliyah was driving. Itamar was with other friends that day. Still, he feels guilty.
And because I was there in the real time to take him out, to help him, to be with him, because he's feel alone.
And still more destroyed vehicles have just been brought to this lot. These come from near Oz, almost half of its residents killed or taken hostage, one of the many kibbutzim stormed by militants.
This lot tells so much of the story of October 7th because along with all of the destroyed vehicles, you also have this pile of motorcycles and these trucks that were used by Hamas during the attacks.
They're kept as far away from the others as possible at the far end of the dirt field. This truck has what looks to be a machine gun position.
You know, it feels like an Holocaust, modern Holocaust, that the Hamas just wanted to kill everyone they saw.
Hila Elimelech and Noy Ninio came here to get belongings for their friend, too emotionally scarred to come himself.
I grabbed his girlfriend's bag with her stuff. He's alive, but he can come here.
How do you feel seeing all these cars?
Shocked. I can't imagine what happened to the people at the festival. I can't think about it.
Smoke hangs over Gaza, just about 5 kilometers away from here. Outgoing artillery fire booms, reminders of the war and untold suffering triggered by this attack. Itamar backs Israel's fight, his heart hardened.
We just wait for the end to know that Gaza is not here anymore. Don't want to scare anymore, not there and not in my house and not in another country. No.
As Haim works to identify the missing, it's the loss of so many children that hits him the hardest. He carries a balloon to a vehicle with a car seat, hoping the child who once sat there is still alive. Even as hope here can be hard to hang on to.
Ellen, what a haunting place that is. I'm curious what was going through your mind when you were there.
Yeah, haunting is right, Adrienne. It was really staggering to see row after row after row of these decimated cars, to see the bullet holes in some of them, the grenade impacts in some of them, to try to imagine what it might have been like to be there on that day. It was the personal items in the cars. You know, I saw this beautiful blue scarf hanging out of one of the windows, sunglasses. We saw a bag of trail mix. I saw someone's, chicken scratch on a notebook in a car, the signs of these lives lived. It was also hearing, the deep pain, the trauma, the anger from the people who we spoke with, and hearing the artillery fire, those heavy booms every few minutes of artillery fire going into Gaza, knowing there's so much pain there as well, and so much more to come as Israel's military operation continues to intensify.
All right, Ellen, big thanks to you and the team in Ashkelon tonight.
You're welcome.
We have more ahead after the break. Our moment is coming up next. It's a lovely one. Stick around. Boy, this little guy must have really wanted to come inside, because he rang the doorbell at a Nova Scotia home, not once, but twice, at 1:30 in the morning. Also, I don't know how it's a he. Anyway, the couple inside were woken up, but unbothered by the doorbell, which, like any good Canadian doorbell, apparently plays the Hockey Night in Canada theme song, of course. The tiny late-night visitor is our moment.
It was a mouse. Well, we were asleep. It was probably 1:30 in the morning, and the doorbell rang. It actually woke us up. My wife kind of looked at the camera, and she went back to sleep, so I didn't think anything of it. And then about 2 minutes later, it happened again. My wife had said this morning, "Did you look at the cameras to see who rang the doorbell last night?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Check it out, it was a mouse." I was kind of shocked. The mouse was running along the brick ledge and stood up and actually put both paws on the doorbell and pushed the doorbell button. You're just getting back to sleep, and then the mouse wakes you up again. So I think this guy was trying to get into somewhere warm. Trying different methods. Yeah, trying to ring the doorbell, see if we'll open the door.
What are you going to do about that? Mice tend to repeat behaviors, don't they?
Well, I'll let you know. And see what happens, and if it happens again, we'll have to deal with it.
I really like this little guy. I mean, any rodent I've had the displeasure of encountering doesn't ask to come in, just sort of shows up. Also, the theme song, I have so many questions. For all of us here at the National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to the National's YouTube channel. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.